comprehensive victory Arsenal secured in the North London derby was not merely a result of superior talent or individual moments of brilliance, but a direct consequence of a meticulously planned and executed tactical system that rendered Tottenham Hotspur utterly helpless. The foundational element of this dominance was a strategic shift in Arsenal's attacking shape, a deviation from their usual structure that created profound and unsolvable problems for the opposition from the very first minute. Instead of deploying a conventional striker or even a single false nine, Arsenal operated with a dual playmaking threat in the central attacking spaces, a system best described as a twin false nine setup. This approach saw both Martin Odegaard and Kai Havertz consistently occupying the corridors of space between Tottenham's defensive and midfield lines, a positioning strategy that sowed indecision and chaos in the Spurs' defensive structure. The inherent confusion this system caused was visible throughout the match. Tottenham lined up with a back three, a formation theoretically designed to provide defensive solidity and numerical superiority against central attackers. However, Arsenal's response was ingeniously simple. They refused to place a single central attacker for those three defenders to mark. The three centre-backs, Van de Ven, Romero and Dragazin, were often seen as a redundant unit, circling in space with no clear marking responsibilities. The fundamental question they faced had no good answer. Should one of them jump out of the defensive line to engage with Odegaard or Havertz, leaving a dangerous gap behind? Should two of them step up, completely compromising the defensive line's integrity? Or should the central midfielders, Bentancur and Sarr, drop deep into their own penalty area to pick them up, thereby surrendering the midfield battle to Declan Rice and Thomas Partey? This was the tactical quandary Arsenal imposed, and Tottenham never found a solution. This tactical framework was perfectly illustrated in the build-up to the opening goal. The sequence began with a single moment of indecision from a Tottenham defender. Mickey van de Ven, operating as the left-sided centre-back, was drawn out of his position to follow Declan Rice into a deep midfield area. This decision, a momentary lapse in defensive discipline, immediately fractured Tottenham's backline. Arsenal played through the vacated space with ease. A simple pass found William Saliba, who then moved the ball forward to Jurrien Timber. At this critical moment, the value of the twin false nines became crystal clear. Both Odegaard and Havertz were not making runs in behind or standing static against defenders. They were holding their positions 10 yards away from the remaining centre-backs, demanding the ball in pockets of space. Timber played the ball infield to Havertz. And with Van de Ven desperately scrambling to recover his position, Tottenham's defensive shape was in disarray. The subsequent pass from Havertz to Leandro Trossard, who made a perfectly timed angled run, was a masterpiece of vision and weight, resulting in a goal that was both deserved and a direct product of the systemic pressure Arsenal had created. The role of Declan Rice in this system cannot be overstated. His performance was a masterclass in intelligent, selfless midfield play that amplified the effectiveness of those around him. His contribution to the second goal was a perfect example of creating value without even touching the ball. The move developed down Arsenal's right flank with Jurrien Timber driving infield. At this point, Christian Romero, the central pillar of Tottenham's defence, was tasked with monitoring the advanced positioning of Kai Havertz on the edge of the penalty area. As Timber progressed, Rice initiated a devastating run directly into the heart of the box. This was not a speculative run. It was a calculated manoeuvre designed to manipulate a defender. Romero, recognising Rice's burst as a direct goal threat, felt compelled to track the run, abandoning his responsibility on Havertz to do so. The initial pass from Timber was cut out, but the ricochet fell kindly back to the Arsenal player. The most critical damage, however, was already done. Romero's decision to follow Rice had left a vast expanse of space in a prime shooting position, space that Havertz now occupied unchallenged. By the time Romero realised the pass wasn't coming to Rice and tried to recover, it was too late. Havertz had already received the ball, set himself, and curled a beautiful left-footed finish into the corner. Rice's run was the unselfish trigger for the entire opportunity. Further illustrating the tactical dominance was the distinct but complementary roles played by the two false nines, Odegaard and Havertz. Analysing their touch maps reveals a fascinating story. Odegaard's activity was heavily concentrated in the central zones just outside the penalty area, his domain. The sheer volume of his involvement in these high-value areas resembles the chalkboard of a prolific attacking midfielder operating as a de facto striker, constantly probing for openings and linking play. He was the metronome in the final third, and his crisp first-time finishing was a constant threat. Havertz, on the other hand, displayed a different pattern. His positioning saw him drift more frequently towards the right flank, often interchanging with Bukayo Saka and Jurrien Timber. This was a deliberate ploy to overload that side of the pitch, attracting 2 and sometimes 3 Tottenham players towards the ball. Once that gravitational pull was established, the quick switch of play to the open central space where Odegaard was invariably waiting became Arsenal's most potent weapon. Havertz's performance was also remarkably industrious, exemplified by his perfect record in defensive tackles, often regaining possession in midfield to launch new attacks. He was the connective tissue, sacrificing pure goal-scoring presence for tactical flexibility and ball retention. The hat-trick clinching third goal for Odegaard was a microcosm of the entire match, a blend of Tottenham's disorganisation and Arsenal's ruthless efficiency. It originated from a Tottenham attack that broke down, with the young defender Hincapie making a commanding headed clearance on his debut. The ball was flicked on by Rice to Havertz, who displayed immense strength to hold off Romero and spin into space. His subsequent pass to Trossard set up a 3 versus 2 scenario. As Trossard drove forward, he committed the remaining defenders, creating an impossible choice. The pass across to Odegaard was impeccably weighted, and the finish into an empty net was a formality, capped off by the comical sight of a Tottenham defender slipping and falling in a futile attempt to intercept. It was a goal born from confidence, tactical superiority, and the sheer weight of Arsenal's control. In the broader context, Tottenham offered almost nothing in response, registering one of the lowest expected goal totals seen in the league this season. Their game plan appeared solely focused on defensive containment, which Arsenal dismantled within the first half hour, and they possessed no coherent strategy to hurt Arsenal when in possession. The individual performances across the Arsenal team were universally excellent. Jurrien Timber was a dynamo on the right, his driving runs and incisive passes constantly unbalancing the defence. Bukayo Saka was a perpetual menace, routinely occupying multiple defenders and creating space for others. Leandro Trossard provided a constant threat with his quick thinking and technical security. However, the 2 standout figures were the architects of the system: Declan Rice for his omnipresent, game-intelligent dominance, and Martin Odegaard for a truly unplayable performance that blended sublime skill with a ruthless end product. This was not just a win. It was a statement of tactical and technical authority that underscores Arsenal's credentials as a truly elite team capable of winning the highest prizes.